we picked a venue for you that's what to make you feel relaxed, because this is where they do the Love Island podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is that your thing?
Do you know what? That's quite funny. I went to ITV, like the offices the other day over in Shepherd's Bush, White City, and no, they didn't ask me to go on there. No, obviously I just got married. yeah. But I said there's a great substitute for me, and I'm joking that. No, so I was just talking about other stuff and that, and some of the initiatives I'm involved in, and but they obviously, I said, they asked me a few things. Would you go like celebrity or something like that? Get me out of it. I said, yeah, I'll do something. Yeah, I would. I'll do something like that. So something different for my life.
Testicles.
Well, that's not the first thing that comes to my mind. Eating testicles is not the first thing that pops up in my mind. Actually, it might be, because I did see that the other day, and it was gruesome, wasn't it? Like I saw it. Who done it the other day? It was just something. It was just out of this world. But anyway, forget about the testicles.
Right, move on.
Let's move on. But we was talking about, because there's someone over there called Mickey that's head of the talent, and she said that she wanted someone for Love Island. So I said, do you know, my brother's 26.
Ooh.
Bit of a Casanova.
Is he cut like a steak?
Well, I've told her. So we started going gym yesterday. So it's quite, it all ties in. So we started going gym yesterday. You're here? So today I'm quite sore, yeah? But I wanted to look good for this podcast. So that's why I said I'm going to go pump some iron to look good for, like, obviously the Football Lives podcast. But with my brother, so we'll talk about my brother now. So my brother's, he's putting himself forward for the Love Island gig. So you might see Ivan Cole in there soon.
I swear I've never seen it.
You've never seen Love Island?
No.
Oh, it's brilliant. And if it's done here, maybe I'm getting closer to it, and this is a sign.
I walked into the wrong one. There's one down the road, just around the corner here.
Yeah.
And it's entirely pink. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because I got thrown out. I went into the wrong place, but yeah. It
was in there? Okay.
I'm going
to go there. After this, I'm going to go and have a knock. So listen, consider my brother.
Well, look, where should we start? Because, well, you were made in Chelsea. They are. See that link there? See that?
Made in Chelsea. This is getting really technical, isn't it?
Going to get used to that.
Tactics.
But you're a Croydon boy, aren't you?
Originally? Yeah. So basically, I didn't see much of Croydon growing up. I was just born there. My mum lived there when she first come over here to the country, and then she was studying over that area as well, and then met my dad. And I was conceived over in Croydon. Was born in Croydon.
Conceived. That's nicely put. Yeah.
Born in Croydon, and then she moved over to West London in the end. So after I was born, I was there for like 3 or 4 months. So I can't say I'm actually a South London person. I'm actually a West London guy. Right. And yeah, that was the story of me being born in Croydon, because I had to be born somewhere. And Croydon was the place I landed. You know what I mean? After that,
but you grew up in Brentford.
I grew up in Brentford, yeah. Right. So that's where I've got my main fond memories.
Was that where you picked up? You know, is that what you where you were spotted?
So I was actually spotted at because I was playing for a team called, and this is why I love the green theme. Yeah, it was my first ever football club. Was played in green. It was a team in Ealing. Called Walpole Wanderers, and we had a few good players back then, and we won everything, like over the whole West London. We travelled, beat a load of teams as well, and we had a great time, and I learnt a lot in that period. I was about 10, 11, that sort of age, 12, just about to get scouted to go into obviously the big time, but those years from 10 to about 13 were my real progression in getting recognised as a good player around the area.
For somebody who's never seen you play, like I haven't seen Love Island, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a robust, surprisingly good with my feet.
Surprisingly?
Yeah, better than I was with my head. But you get put in a box and you get utilised in different ways with different managers, and the easiest way for me to make an impact in the game was to be that number 9 strong person up front. But I actually did start in central midfield. But for me, when you go up the levels, so you go into the academies and that, I just didn't have the work rate And it wasn't that I was lazy, it's just my capacity of breathing.
Yeah.
Getting up and down, box to box. I was never going to be that player. So I could go forward and be excellent at it, but getting back was a struggle. You know what I mean? So I'd love going forward. That was what ticked me. And that's what made everything that ticked the boxes for me. And I couldn't just do the defending part. That was
and
my
Chelsea
problem.
wanted you to do that.
So Chelsea actually got me in as a central midfielder. And that's why I was doing my I trialed at central midfield. And this was at the age of 13. And I'd already scored a bag of goals at lower league level, like obviously Sunday football. And school football, I was dominating. I was dominating in, I'd say, the borough football, district football, they call it now, county football. Yeah. And I would have gone further if there was a facility for that. And that it was hard to break into the South East London schools football. It was really hard at that time, but I was on the radar.
But then you're on Chelsea's books.
Yeah, so I had that trial. So it's funny. So I had a trial at 13 years old, and I always tell this story. It's quite eye opening to get into thought process of a young boy trying to get into a football team, especially an academy as big as Chelsea's. So Chelsea scouted me, a guy called Bob Osborne. Richard Butler, my manager of Walpole Wanderers, was a part of that, telling the Chelsea scout to come and watch me. I'd previously gone to Brentford on trial because I started playing and paying to play at about 10, 11 to try and get into a Brentford football team. They didn't have a great scouting network, but they had this thing called football in the community. Yeah. And that's where I started paying £2 just to go and train on a Saturday morning with a few mates, and then that's how I got scouted to go to Brentford first before Chelsea on trial. Didn't get into Brentford, by the way. Yeah. And I was trialling like for ages. I could say probably just under about 6 months, 7 months. But then I was playing for Walpole Wanderers by that time. I got into there, and then I was really, really doing well. I stayed there for a couple of years before I got to go to Chelsea in the end. And that was quite an eye-opening experience, because once you do get rejected from your first a club that you think you should be getting into, if you've got any chance in football, to the progression getting into Chelsea eventually was quite an eye-opening experience, because sometimes that's when I just started to learn it's all about opinions. Yeah,
knocks your confidence in some aspects. But you've gone to Chelsea. Who was manager? Ranieri?
So you had Claudio Ranieri at the time that came to the club. So I was already there before that. So Ranieri was definitely a person that influenced my career, definitely. But before that, we had Ruud Gullit. Of course, was the gaffer. Yeah, I remember Ruud Gullit. I used to wash his boots. Yeah, so I remember he gave me these the first Nike Air Zooms I've ever seen. I think it was one of the first one. I think R9 used to wear them, but Ruud Gullit had these, and obviously he was at the end of his career. And I had to wash them, but eventually he gave them to me for Christmas. I was like, oh, fantastic. I loved it. And I still got them to this day in the attic. But it was amazing. But one thing I did do with those boots that he gave me, because I was his boot boy, was I started wearing them, and I wore them thin. Because I didn't have any other boots, really. Like, I didn't have enough money for that. And I wore them thin. I should have never, ever done that. But because I should have been framed by now, innit? Yeah, exactly. But now it's all like tatted, they've got holes in them. But yeah, Ruud Gullit first gave me his boots. But other than that, like, I had a great time in the Chelsea youth team, and then I just remember just growing in that environment. Yeah.
Ranieri then, he gave you your debut. So
Ranieri eventually, so it's quite funny because Ranieri first come in and I was playing under 19s football and reserves, and I was doing quite well. And I was one of the youngest, so I was like 17, 18 at the time. Well, actually, I was 17 at the time, but I was playing under 19 football. I was actually progressing. Yeah. And when he first come in, his first game that he attended was the FA Youth Cup.
This is Ranieri.
Ranieri came to watch the players and to see what he's got in the youth team. And the first leg he wasn't there for. We only got beat 1-0. It was away to Liverpool at Anfield. So it's the first time I played in the stadium. So we played at Anfield, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is brilliant. Excellent. Then after that, we had the home leg, and it was obviously it's 1-0. We got beat, but 1-0, we're still recuperable. And he's there. Everyone knew that he was there. I think it was Jim Duffy who was the manager at the time. No, actually, it was Steve Clark who was the manager at the time. Yeah. And what happened was a travesty. So we got beat 7-1 at Stamford Bridge with all the fans there. And this is Claudio Ranieri's first game. And he's running his eye over what he's got in the youth team. I read the next day or the day after that he said that he's got nothing. There's nothing in the youth team to look forward to. So there's got to be a whole reconstruction of what he thinks football should look like in the youth team. And that was devastating for me.
Includes you,
Yeah. That was devastating for me because I was thinking, I've done so much good work all the way up to that one game he's seen me. And I don't know, right? I didn't play badly, but I just didn't set the world on fire. And then it was disappointing to say, and that we got beat 7-1 at home to Liverpool that time, and that was the first image that he had of us. So in that team, we did have Robert Huth.
Yeah.
We had obviously myself. We had Courtney Pitt. We had Leon Knight. We had Joe Keenan. We had some good players. Andy Ross at the time. Ryan Stevenson. So we had some good players. Lenny Pidgley.
Yeah, but he gave you your debut, didn't he?
So eventually, as time went on, and I was that season, so that was about Christmas time. And that season, he'd already obviously joined from the summer. But then that was his first game that he came and watched us. And then he was just like, I just started putting the ball in the back of the net, just carrying on with business. Forgot about the disappointment of that 7-1 defeat. And you start to see, okay, who's got the minerals, And I did at that time. It was a mind over matter sort of thing, and I was in good form as well. We had one blip there, but I didn't let it affect me to get to the next level. And that season he gave me my debut.
He said you're the best young player he'd ever worked with at that time.
Oh, that's brilliant. When I heard all of this.
Yeah, but when I looked at so Ranieri, the best I've ever worked with at the time.
Yeah. Then
I looked that he'd managed before Chelsea.
Yeah.
Napoli, Fiorentina, Valencia, Atletico Madrid. So they must have all been really bad. It's like,
do you know what? I'll tell you what.
It's a great compliment, isn't it?
It's a great compliment. I don't know if he was just trying to help me out or something. I don't know what it is, or he knew my agent or something like that. Something going on. But to be honest, at that time, I didn't see it, what he was talking about. It was until obviously a few years later, then I realised, okay, I was a good player, because you know how hard it is actually to make it and to be recognised, and people saying, oh, do you know what? And being a great person to work with as well, that has to be on the account somewhere, because
that was the way
I was a learner. I was a quick learner. So if you used to tell me, I need you to do this and I need these results, I would perform that to the best of my ability, and I was good under pressure as well. So those were my skills. I'm not saying that I was the most skillful player he's probably ever seen, but to work and for me to grab information of what he wanted and to pull it onto the pitch in a quick, short space of time and show that exactly this is what I want, and then I'm actually there fielding it in front of his face. He probably thought, that's the standard.
And having got there, the hardest thing is to stay there, because particularly something like a club like Chelsea that time, when money was pouring in, players were pouring in, and it found it very difficult.
So that first season we was under the cosh, so we didn't really we needed to actually get a result that season. We needed to finish fourth in the Champions League position in the Premier League, because otherwise we were going through it. Ken Bates was struggling. We were struggling financially. If we didn't get Champions League that season, Roman Abramovich wouldn't have come in. So we was really under pressure that season to make things happen. Now, I was a part of that because I scored some important goals. I went on loan for a month. I went to Wolves because the reason why I went to Wolves at that time was because it was a disciplinary thing. I was coming in late every day. When you get so much thrown at you and you forget about the details as a young boy, and I get it, and that's why I'm in youth football now, to try and help with that mindset. But you forget the details, as in some certain people, although that you don't probably mean it, certain people find lateness and all that sort of stuff really jarring, and they think it's disrespectful.
It's discipline.
I didn't understand that, because from how I grew up, my mum was always late. My uncle was always late. We didn't take time seriously in my household. So now when all these things do happen, it creates the person that you are in that time. So when I was being late, I didn't realise I was being disrespectful.
Yeah, is it an attitude thing, or was it just?
I didn't feel that I was being disrespectful, because when I was then in the building, I was 100%. Yeah. But it was just getting me into the building on time. It got so strenuous that my coach, actually my academy manager, Neil Bath, he used to have to come and pick me up from my house to bring me into training. Sure. You know, like, and I was like, I didn't realise. I was thinking, I'm getting special treatment here. I love this. Like, but really, I never learned anything. And until I went on loan to Wolves that time, when I had to. I know this sounds like really shallow, but at the time, Wolves, obviously, Molineux was a lovely place, but the training ground wasn't great, and what I was used to. And Harlington wasn't even that great, to be honest, at the time. But it was near the airport. It was better than Wolves' training ground, because it felt like they was training in a park, like it was just open to the elements. And I was like, what is this? And the one thing that I didn't realise, that you had to pay for your own lunch after training. So you had to pay like £3-4 for your lunch every day. I was like, what is this? Like, that opened my eyes, because remember, now at this time I'm spoilt.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I was spoiled at this time.
You could probably afford it as well, maybe.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case. Like, I was thinking, this is just not me. Like, so when I got called back on loan to go to Chelsea, I appreciated everything there. I thought, okay, this is heaven. Yeah, you know. So it did open my eyes up to appreciate what was around me a little bit more.
Didn't it click for you though when you're looking at Zola, Hasselbank? I mean, there was a whole...
No, because you got to understand, as a youngster, you've got no fear. So, and if you feel that you're half good enough and you're mixing it with these characters, you want to be in their position. Don't get me wrong, like, you want to be the main man, but you do get carried away of getting comfortable and a bit carried away with yourself, saying, all right, it's all going to happen, it's all going to plan out. It's planned out this far. I've got here, I'm in the same room as Zola and Hasselbank and Idega Johnson, and you've got Emmanuel Petit, Desai in the same room. Like, you actually start thinking that's kind of normal for a 17, 18-year-old, and it's not. It's only till you get older and wiser, you start to realise how actually fortunate you actually were. But at the time, when you're in it, you don't see it. And that's why when I got a little bit older and I started to understand, I said, and when I went on that loan as well, I was like, I appreciate this. So the first game I got back,
back to
Chelsea from Wolves, it was only a month loan. I scored 1 goal out of 5 games. And I did have a great experience. So I got to play with Paul Ince there, Dennis Irwin. Dennis Irwin, do you know what I mean?
Jolyon Lescott was there?
Jolyon Lescott was there, made great friends with him. Yeah. George and Dar, Nathan Blake was there. It was unbelievable. I had a great experience. And when I look back, I think, do you know what? And that month was like a year for me of experience, because I just got to see first team football and being depended on a little bit, and I just thought, this is great. When I went back, because I appreciated that time away, I scored on my first game back against Sunderland. And I remember I came on as a substitute. I was like, I need to hold this with both hands, man, because this is amazing. I'm back in Chelsea colours.
And that's why that's why they sent you to Charlton.
That was the year after. That was it. So I was actually involved in the last game of the season. Against Liverpool at home, and this was the decider whether we would get into the Champions League or not. And I think Liverpool finished 5th and we was 4th in the end, and we had to win that game. Jesper Gonkia had scored that final goal, the winning goal that actually sealed it for us, and we got 4th in the end. And there was that famous game as well when Gianfranco Zola, I was on the pitch for that, I should have scored, but Gianfranco Zola, remember that clip? There's a clip of him turning Carragher inside out, and that Carragher ends up on his ass. Oh. And do you remember that clip? Yeah. It's a famous one. That was the same game.
You can search that one.
Yeah, that's Chelsea Liverpool.
Jamie Carragher looks like he's running like an ironing board. It's not working.
So that game, I was seeing it whilst on the pitch. I was like, this is unbelievable. What a magician this geezer is. Do you know what I mean? And that was the game where that sealed it for us, and we got the Champions League. Then the Abramovich money comes in. And that's where it kind of went wonky for me over at Chelsea.
Yeah. So Charlton, you're more involved there.
Yeah.
Chris Powell's there.
Yeah.
Graham Stewart, Matt Holland, Paolo Di Canio.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Good side, that.
Yeah, so Matty Holland was a great captain. What a great guy, and great person to be in the changing room and share a locker room with him. Then you've got you had Mark Fish, you had Sean Bartlett, and these guys were just like, they played World Cup. They was like really respected, and then you had players like Klaus Jensen.
Of course, yeah.
He was a baller. Then obviously you had the ultimate man, Paolo Di Canio there, and Jason Yule.
Must be some Di Canio stories.
Yeah.
There must be some.
Well, Paolo Di Canio
did he calm down?
He's no, he was still the same guy. Never played up north. He let us do all the donkey work up north, and the club had to subsidise for that. So is anything past the Watford gap, I'm not interested in, unless it's Manchester United or Liverpool or the big game.
Glory game.
Yeah, Paolo Di Canio.
7th. Wolves finished above Spurs, Everton, Man City. I mean, that's
So that season, it wasn't a great season for me. It was a good season because I scored 5 goals. Paolo Di Canio set up all of them at the time. But to be a part of that team and finishing that high up in the table was great. But for me, off the pitch was turmoil. I was learning life lessons off the pitch. I had a lot of problems off the pitch where I could have stayed away from at the time, and the only reason I got into all of that, going out, clubbing and all that, was because I was injured. I got a hip injury at the time, and it wasn't good. I was in a bad space in my head at that season. Although that the club done really well, and then I did return to the club eventually and started kicking on a little bit. But when I remember that whole scenario, I just wanted to get away from London because it was just a stitch up. And that's when I realised what it took to be a footballer and what comes with the territory of being a footballer.
Isolate yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, I was in a bad place mentally, and that's when you talk about mental health and all that sort of stuff. And I get it, and I was there, but I pulled through because I had good family around me that believed in me and knew that I'm not a wrong un and I wasn't a bad egg. But although that I was getting called all sorts of stuff from the terraces, I didn't let it affect me, and it actually galvanised me to say, do you know what, I'll do my talking with just football now. And I need to pull away from the friends that I had around me that time that was getting me into a little bit of bother. And I see some of the kids nowadays going through the same thing.
It's easy.
It's an easy trap to get into.
There's a bit of...
Everything is there.
You get past the old velvet rope.
Everything is there, Des. So you just got to understand that it's not the first rodeo.
No.
A load of footballers has done it before you, and there's going to be more after you. So just know that as long as your heart's clean and you do the right things, you follow the processes, you're always going to be okay in the end. But there's a lot that comes with being a footballer that a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of other pressures that are off the field.
The attention, the spotlight. You can't make a mistake even when you're 21.
Exactly, yeah. Look, you're always going to make mistakes being a young pro, but it can come at wrong times for you in your life, and I'd say, if your support network is not the right support network that's going to get you out of trouble like that, then you're going to have to reevaluate your friends, you're going to have to reevaluate your family, you're going to have to evaluate a lot of stuff that comes away so you can reach your potential as much as because it's what it is, you've only got a short amount of time to be a pro. Yeah. And I always say this to the boys. So you want that journey to be clean.
When you say the boys, you mean the academy kids?
The academy boys, because I'm in the academy at West Ham. And you've got to understand that this journey of football is a short space of time. It's just it's like 10, you might get 15 years playing at the top level. And if you can utilise it the best way possible and listen to the right people, the people that's really got your back, and you can identify these people quite early in your career, then you'll have a good time. But there's a lot of people that are not good judge of characters. And that's what I wasn't a great judge of character because I just thought everyone was my friend. And these are the little bits and bobs that you're going to have to learn. And I had a crash course in that at a quite early age.
And probably you got some shock therapy as well from some of the managers all through the years. I mean, I'm thinking particularly of Jose Mourinho. He'll give you a...
Yeah, he gave me a few... So Jose gave me a rollicking. So after I had the loan at Aston Villa, he called me back. I think he would actually call me back whilst I was at Aston Villa, but he didn't know there wasn't a break clause in it. It was just a straight year loan. but he wanted to call me back from before because he thought he could work with me. He saw potential in me. And at the time, I was like 22 at the time, I think. I didn't have a good time next. I didn't get along with David O'Leary as much as I wanted to.
No, didn't connect really?
Didn't really connect with him. I felt he had... I thought he was more about himself. That was me. He wasn't really helping me develop the way I wanted to. And he saw me as not a youth player. I'm trying to adapt into first team football. He saw me as I should get it by now, kind of thing. Which some players need a little bit more help than others. Yeah. And I did have to learn on the job over there and manage that disappointment of not performing at the best of my ability over there. I did score some decent goals, but it wasn't a great successful loan for me. I would say I didn't utilise, and I was up and down the motorway. I wasn't living in the flat they gave me, so I didn't really enjoy and settling up there. No. But when I did come back to Chelsea, Mourinho gave me a chance to be around the first team, and I played a certain amount of games. I didn't play enough games. There was a couple of games that I should have played where you'd have given me a medal because we'd already won the league already, so I had to play 2 more games to get a medal. And he didn't, because I was still doing the wrong things off the pitch. I hadn't learnt my lesson, so he scolded me in that way.
You could have got that one he threw into the crowd, maybe.
That one he threw into the crowd, I saw it going in the crowd in slow motion, mate. I was like,
give me back here.
I was to be Michael Jordan and just jump and get that. I'd have been the jump. I wanted to jump 23 on there. I'd have jumped into the crowd and got that. But no, it was amazing because when that did happen, I realised, okay, he doesn't care about, he knows that I haven't done enough to be awarded, because he gave Robert Hoof the games at the end of the season. Yeah. He gave a few other players the games that they needed to get, but I was the only one left on the bench, and I remember I was up at Newcastle for one of the last games, because we had already won the league 3 games before or something like that, and I was thinking, you just give me 1 minute, 2 minutes, just give me something so I could get sometimes it. And I knew why he didn't do it. He didn't want me to be involved in that. So I took it on the chin, and I grew from it.
Yeah. You said you had a rollicking. What was the rollicking?
So the rollicking came.
Rollicking.
So the rollicking came. It was, I can't remember where it was. I think I've been corrected. I've said this on a podcast before, but.
What? There is no other podcast.
But I got it wrong, so I can correct myself now.
Here we go.
There was a team we played up north, and we played really badly. I can't remember who it was. I said it was Liverpool, but I don't think it is. I think it was someone else. And I remember it was like 3-0 or something like that to them. And then we'd come down, and we'd always train the next day anyway, because we'd always have a midweek game, Champions League game. So... and this was on a Sunday, so the ones that didn't play was going to gear up to play on the weekday, would train, and with the players that haven't played, and it'll be very intense. And there's a lot of people really peed off in these sessions. Yeah. Anyway, we always have a meeting before we go out to train. So you tell us what we're going to go for, what we're going to do,
and recap
on what's happened before. But this one particular meeting wasn't great for me. I just remember walking in, because I knew I didn't go out. I was good that weekend. I hadn't gone out or done anything untoward. And then I was sitting down, and I always sit to the left, right in the front row. And there's this whole conversation of what happened at the game the day before, prior. That was non-existent. It was all about Carlton Cole not being good enough and his performance, and you're going to work in Tesco's if you don't get your finger out. Tesco's. I don't know why I said Tesco's. I just remember Tesco's.
Not even Sainsbury's.
It might have been Sainsbury's.
Waitrose. It wasn't Waitrose.
There was no Co-op back then. It wasn't Waitrose. Definitely not Waitrose. That was too much glam. Definitely weren't M&S. That was too much. It was Tesco's. Yeah. There was no Aldi's back then, so I thought it could have been Aldi's.
It's a bit of shock therapy for me.
Yeah. So it was a shock therapy, but it was just on me. Like, it was just caning me for at least 10 minutes. I was like, wow, this is a bit much, because I wasn't even involved in the squad. I didn't even travel. Do you know what I mean? So why am I involved in this conversation? Talk to your players that you took. But I always remember that. And then even like all the other players was like, wow, he's gunning for you for some reason. Because I was like, I haven't done anything wrong. Anyway, It wasn't one of those ones that I actually took it on board and I reacted. But the way I reacted was really good because I went out and trained and I had one of the best training sessions of my life. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, because I was so angry, I was hurt up on
motivating
at that time. Yeah, so it was motivating me, and he did get the best out of me. I don't know if he meant it, because if he did, it was genius. But those type of things that they get under my skin, I trained brilliant that day, and I remember I think it was William Gallas that I was up against, and
in training.
Yeah, and he after the training session he said, "Coley, you was unreal. Like, where's this Carlton? Where's this guy?" Like, and I was like, do you know what? I don't know.
We just have to get you angry more often.
And that's what, and that was the problem. And I'm going through that with my son at the moment. Yeah. I need to get him angry. And I'm getting angry at him because he doesn't get angry enough. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't even berate him because I was the same.
How old is he?
He's 15 now.
Oh, no, you can chat him.
Yeah. I do. I give him a bit. But then I can't really judge him the way I want to judge him. I say, what's wrong with you? You've had it too good. But I was like that as a youth as well.
But with Mourinho, did he keep that going, or was that?
No. That was it. That was it from then, and I was in the squads after that as well. So
you just got that.
Yeah, we just got. Yeah, we moved on. Yeah.
So you had no resentment after that?
No, not at all. It affected me obviously because I still talk about it till today. Yeah. But what I would say is, with Mourinho's outlook to maybe that's what I was trying to say to you. Maybe it was genius, or maybe it's not. If he was to go and do that to a player nowadays, that player, because there's more thing called player power. The players nowadays, I don't think will be able to take that sort of criticism on the chin.
Do you think he's changed though?
I don't think he has. I think he'll.
Is that why
I think he'd still do that because he's a spontaneous person. If he feels that way right there and then, he's going to let you know about it. Yes. And there's no tact.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm going from?
You'll
go straight in. There's no tact. I think that's where he might get stuck nowadays. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you've got to have a bit more tact with some of these players nowadays because they've got more... they're probably more emotionally intelligent than we were. We had to be thick-skinned. Yeah, we had to get on with it.
Intelligence is a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, I have to say it like that because they're more aware of their emotions.
Yeah,
us lot, we'd get battered, and you could say it anyway, and we'll have to take it on the chin. But now you can't do that to some of these youth players now, or players just breaking in the squad because it will affect them. I think they're more sensitive to criticism.
I like Jose.
Listen, for me, I love him. I think it worked for that generation. I think, but now you've got to move with the times and move with, you can't, that approach is not going to work anymore. And you still get the best out of certain players, but that's why he'll always revert to, and I think I heard an interview that gone are the days of the John Terrys, the Drogbas, those sort of personalities in the changing room where they're real men, that kind of thing, that could take it on the chin. And if there was some criticism laid towards the team, or they'll go and speak to the gaffer and say, I don't think that there's that anymore. I don't think there's that level of respect anymore. I think if you batter a player now, you've got to come up. You're going to have to deal with the consequences because the player's going to tell his agent, So
this is what happened with Sancho, same kind of thing. It's a scenario, he's late and he falls out with the manager.
I don't know exactly what happened with Jadon Sancho, but all I do know is a very, very highly talented player. I'm not sure. I think you've got to stroke some of these boys' egos nowadays because that's what their mentality is. And I think I get it because I work in youth football. I see it. That you can't just be gung-ho. I've tried that approach with some of our lads, and it doesn't work. They're like, "Oh, this guy's annoying," and you won't get the reaction that you're thinking because you're thinking, "Well, if I had that sort of criticism, I know how I'd react. I'd want to show you." Well, some of these boys, they go within themselves, and then they'll struggle, and then you can't help them the way you want to help them because you think you are helping them, but you're actually killing them. Like you're not doing them you're not going to get the best out of them. So that's the way I look at it. So you got to change with the times. Yes. And I think Jose needs to, but Jose won't be the special one if he does change too much.
It'll pop up somewhere soon.
And he will pop up somewhere, but I think he needs to have someone with a bit of chill next to him.
We get you there.
No. You've got to understand the culture. It's a different culture nowadays. It's just totally different.
Well, let's move on then to, I suppose it's your home.
Yeah.
West Ham in.
So eventually, the year after that, we won the Premier League. And I was in that squad, but I didn't feel a part of it. But I wanted to play football now, and I was like, I was still in England under 21s, and I was still doing well with the 21s. But that was my main hub of football. I could actually display what I was good at, and that's when Spurs come in initially. Martin Yole and Clive Allen. They wanted me to go over there, so I had a nice little meeting with them. I was like, okay, cool. This is where I'm going to go. Done my medical. What happened after that was crazy because I got a phone call. After I had my medical, I got a phone call saying, I had something wrong with my knee. So they had to go, Spurs had to go back to Chelsea, whoever they was doing the deal with, to say Carlton needs to sort out his knee, so we need some money off, basically. You know how it goes over there at Spurs. They're always trying to cut corners. So they didn't want to pay the full whack for me, obviously. Word got to Abramovich, who'd had no clue of this deal that was happening. He says, no. I get a phone call saying I've got to go and meet him the next day at Stamford Bridge in the gym.
Meet who?
Abramovich.
Yeah. So
I go to meet Abramovich with, at the time, my dad was there, my uncle, and Abramovich came with his interpreter. So we were sitting down, just having a coffee, chilling, and he was like, oh, listen, Carlton, I want you to stay, yeah? But I want you to go to my Russian side. So he's got, I think is it CSK Moscow? He's got another, it's under the same umbrella, but I think it was CSK Moscow at the time, I think. Go on loan for a year, go and help them out, basically go and develop for another year, and then come back, I'll give you a new contract. Me, I'm eager to play at this time. I've seen all my other teammates in the England squad playing regular football at their respective clubs. So I was like, definitely not. I want to go. I want to go anywhere. So I said, I'll tell you what. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to think about it. I've got my agent to ring me if there's any news. So I went to Sierra Leone at the time with my uncle. And then whilst we was over there, he says, my agent called, says, oh, come back. West Ham would like to do something for you. So obviously they've put to bed Spurs. And I'll go back to that conversation actually. He said, we do not do, Abramovich said, we do not deal with Spurs. That's why you won't be going to Spurs. But I've got this for you. That's when CSKA Moscow thing came up. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not going to Russia to go and apply my trade. No, I'm not going to Russia. Russia, at that time, I just thought of snow, blizzard, and...
yeah, you're probably right.
Like, just things that I didn't really think that was going to help my career on the way. And if you actually left, because I had aspirations of playing for England, and if you leave, and back then, when you did leave the country to go and play another country, you was not considered for football.
They're not scouting you in Moscow.
No. So I was like, there's too much at stake for me to go there for a year and be off the radar and then come back. I was like, but maybe when I look at it, maybe that could have worked. I'm not sure. Like, who knows?
Well, you've made a few little interesting decisions at the end of your
career.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but at the time, it was just not the thing to do for an English young pro. It's the golden generation.
They played some pranks on you. Remember your vitamins that you had?
And I go, I've got my vitamins. And I'm like that, I'm like with my head off, what am I going to do here? They go, you've forgotten your vitamins, yeah? I've got some for you. I've got some in there. I said, what you got? He goes, these are multivitamins. They'll cover everything. I've gone, is it? Perfect. Yeah. Gone, I've trotted off to the back. And I've gone, perfect. It's blue. Bosh it down me. Mate, start training. And I'm thinking, nah, this don't feel right. Everyone's cracking up in the training session, by the way, and just laughing. I'm like, mate, and everyone can see the bulge. I couldn't even hide it.
Easy on the detail.
I couldn't hide it. I really couldn't hide it. So yeah, I trained with a boner.